from my point of view, I'm just trying to show the world that I'm trying to imagine. So
Sure.
I'm just trying to show a world in which Yiddish is still a major world language with its own press and literature and television programs and a world that's exactly
right.
a world that's still a place where Yiddish is the language of everyone's everyday life, no matter whether they're religious or secular, or regardless of where they came from. And that was it. That was all I was really trying to do in terms of my deliberate agenda from the start. I'm actually kind of gratified when I read reviews or criticism that seems to be diametrically opposed to another review or another piece of criticism. So if there's a review of a reviewer on the one hand who writes, as this questioner that you referred to at the beginning, that this book is making an argument on behalf of the existence of Israel because it's showing how terrible things are for the Jews in the world where there is no Israel. And that, within a week of that, you would have a review in another newspaper where the reviewer would attack the book as being anti-Zionist and saying, as you said, that Israel is this ridiculous place and that, the world is better off without it. To me, that means I did my job properly.
Facilitating dialogue?
Which is just
stirring people.
Just putting something out there that is imagined thoroughly enough to be capable of multiple interpretations.
Okay. What role does Israel play in your own Jewish identity?
Well, a troubled one. As with a large number of American Jews. To begin with, simply because I don't live there, I live here, which calls into question a whole lot of the supposed verities about Israel, that it's supposed to be my homeland, it's supposed to be all of our homeland, but I don't live there, I live here. That's sort of the fundamental troubled part of the relationship. It's not one that I really lose a lot of sleep over. I also have strong personal family ties and connections to Israel. My wife was born in Israel. She lived in Israel. Her family is Israeli. The history of Israel is the history of my wife's family, and so I'm very strongly connected to it in that way. And I also have a strong sense of intellectual connection to Israel and Israeli culture, and I also have a strong sense of overwhelming gratitude for the existence of Israel, and I'm so glad that it's there. So, it's complicated.
Sure.
I think it's okay that it's complicated. I can live with complication and ambiguity and doubt. I'm comfortable living with ambiguity and doubt. I guess there are people that are less comfortable.
The fact that you're raising your children Jewish, the fact that you do identify strongly as an American Jew, I mean, how did you handle then when some people took their interpretations of the Yiddish Policemen's Union beyond you being an anti-Zionist to being an anti-Semite?
Ultimately, it's like I said, it's just people. I'm not responsible for people's interpretations, and I can't control people's interpretations, and there's nothing I can really do about people's interpretations. So it's sort of like asking me how I feel about a tsunami in Indonesia. I mean, I regret it, but there's not much I could do to prevent it. I don't really. Ultimately, I just have to try to take some kind of, if not pride, then consolation for whatever opprobrium what I write might have aroused by thinking again that it's in some measure a mark of the success with which I imagined the world that I'm trying to describe.
You got to find a way to make it easier for yourself, because you can tell yourself not to read the papers, but you still read the papers. Right?
Yeah, well, it's not that it makes it easier for you, but just that it makes it's just a way of reminding yourself why you do what you do, and it's not
gives purpose to it.
Right.
Well, you're is it 44 now? Is that correct?
Yes.
So you're still, I mean, very much. I guess people would say you've long since come of age as a writer, but you have a long career sure ahead of you. You hope, right?
Yes.
But what is it like? I mean, it seems like more and more I read your name and Philip Ross in the same sentence, and I've got to imagine that is incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh, uncomfortable?
I mean, I just don't know how you live up to that without feeling like you're gonna fall short at some level.
I paid my publicist thousands of dollars to put my name in Philip Roth's sentences all over America. Billboards, matchbooks, napkins.
How does that? I mean, how do you live up to that?
Oh, I don't need to. It's really an honor. It's flattering and it's exciting, and I don't quite believe it in a sense. But even if they're comparing me to him unfavorably and saying, why can't Chabon be more like Roth, or too bad for Chabon, he's not a Roth. Still, it's still an honor. It's still flattering.
In Wonder Boys, you have Grady Tripp, right?
Right.
And Grady, we all know that to some extent fiction is autobiography. Mm-hmm. And I want, Grady Tripp's...
Can I get you some pot? Is that what you're going to...
Well, I was actually going to get to the pot smoking professor. Sure, that's part of it. No. But, my understanding was after The Mysteries of Pittsburgh, you wrote a long 1,000-word piece that you were going to get published in a book. What was it called? It was called...
Fountain City.
Yeah, thank you. And you ended up shelving it, not happy with it, didn't feel like it got where you wanted it to go. And that was like a real... serious problem for Grady Tripp, mm-hmm. who is this middle-aged, pot-smoking English professor mm-hmm. in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And I wondered how much you placed yourself on him, yourself in 30 years or 40 years, as kind of like, the other,
Well, I mean, he was sort of a voodoo doll for me, I suppose, in a way.
Cathartic, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted to prove to myself, coming out of the experience of working on a book for 5.5 years and not being able to finish it, that I wasn't doomed to be stuck inside the same book for the rest of my life. And the way that I did that was to create this guy that was, not me, in a way sort of anti-autobiographical, like all the things that I'm not, and put it all on him and say, so see, I'm not like this guy, so therefore I'm not going to be...
Except for the one central problem, right? The book that can't get finished.
Right, exactly.
That's interesting. Last question, I'll make this. I saw in a Rolling Stone interview, right after The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay won the Pulitzers back in 2001, I guess, that you were very much a geek growing up. Oh, yeah. And at one point you tried starting in Maryland a comic book club that you advertised in the paper, rented out room at the local gym or whatever. Yeah, I mean, what is it like going from... And I definitely...
Still that kid. I'm just still exactly the same kid.
Is it rewarding then to know that you can go from being... And I think a lot of us knew growing up that it was good to be the geek, because all of the people who we so much wanted to be are the people who, by the time we got to the end of high school, were lucky to still be graduating mm-hmm. or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But is it rewarding for you personally to just think that this was the right path for me? And
I don't know. I don't guess I really think about it that way. I just I'm not. I still think so much in the same way that I did at that time that I don't ever quite feel like I'm really anything but a guy sitting at a table in a big empty room with a sign in front of him hoping people will show up.